All right, so today we're diving into some pretty big picture stuff.
Yeah, definitely big picture.
We're talking artificial intelligence
Mm-hmm.
and not just like the make my coffee kind of AI.
Wow.
This is about AI that could actually outsmart us humans.
Yeah, across the board.
And to help unpack all this, we're looking at this interview with Geoffrey Hinton.
The Godfather of AI.
Is he right?
Yeah, the Godfather of AI, exactly. Which is what makes this whole thing kind of mind-blowing, right?
Yeah.
Because this isn't some, AI skeptic.
Yeah.
Or someone who's like, on the sidelines.
Right, he's not writing sci-fi novels. Like, this is...
Exactly. He helped build the foundation for this technology.
Yeah.
And now he's like raising all these red flags.
Yeah, and what's... I think what's so fascinating about it is the sheer speed and scope of how AI is learning.
Okay.
It's like, imagine like 10,000 people all getting PhDs at the same time.
And then immediately sharing everything they learned, like instantly.
Wow.
That's kind of how AI is processing information. So, just the ability to absorb and analyze data is it's pretty mind-blowing.
So forget trying to keep up with the latest research paper.
Oh, yeah.
AI's already read it. It's already come up with its own conclusions.
Exactly. And it's not just about the speed, but it's also like, what is AI going to do with all that knowledge? And one of the things that Hinton's really concerned about is this move towards autonomous decision-making.
Okay.
Especially when you're talking about, things like weaponry.
Yeah, he uses the phrase, go rogue.
Yeah.
Which, like, sends chills down my spine a little bit. Are
Yeah.
we talking about some, like, sci-fi thriller, like robots deciding they don't need humans anymore?
Well, not necessarily like a single system taking over the world, but he draws this parallel to the Manhattan Project.
Okay.
And, the development of nuclear weapons. And it's that, like, it's not necessarily about the intentions,
Yeah.
It's about what happens when you have something that powerful.
And maybe don't have enough oversight.
Exactly. And that's like, the unintended consequences.
Yeah.
So think about AI being used in autonomous weapon systems.
Okay, so like robot soldiers.
Basically.
Making life or death decisions.
Right. And that's something that he's really concerned about. And he actually thinks it's closer than we think.
So we're not just talking about like some far off future. This is like happening now.
Yeah, this is happening now.
And he's saying it's not just going to impact, like the military or whatever.
Right.
He's saying this is going to have ripple effects on jobs, wealth inequality. He even says it could impact the political landscape.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
And I think what's interesting here is that he connects it to a lot of the issues that we're already seeing.
Okay.
So for example, he argues that AI could actually worsen wealth inequality.
Okay.
So the people who are creating AI, who are developing it, stand to gain enormously. But a lot of people could get left behind.
So it's not just about like robots taking our jobs. It's AI making the gap between the haves and have-nots even bigger.
Right, potentially.
Which is, that's a pretty daunting thought, right? So what are we supposed to do about it? Like throw up our hands and say, like, well, the robots win.
Well, Hinton does offer some solutions.
Okay.
But he acknowledges that there's no easy answers here.
Right.
But one of the ideas that he puts forward is this idea of universal basic income.
Okay, so like instead of like competing with AI for jobs, it's like everybody gets a certain amount of income.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. But like how would that, how do you actually make that work?
That's the $1 million question.
Right.
And there's a lot of debate around that, how you would fund it, how you would implement it. And Hinton even acknowledges that, universal basic income, like, it doesn't solve everything.
Right.
Right.
Like, it might address, some of that financial fallout, like if people were losing jobs.
Right. Yeah.
But what about that sense of purpose?
Yeah.
You can't just hand someone a check and say, like, go find something meaningful to do.
Right. Exactly. It's like what he was saying earlier. It's all like intertwined. Like AI is not just this thing that's like,
it's not happening in a vacuum.
Right. Exactly. So if universal basic income isn't this like cure all,
right?
What else are we supposed to do? Are we all supposed to go to plumbing school, like you said?
Well, yeah. I thought that was a pretty,
pretty funny image.
Yeah, it's a pretty striking image.
Yeah.
But I think it highlights a bigger point, which is that It's not necessarily about finding that one AI-proof career.
Right.
It's about, how do we adapt? How do we stay ahead of the curve? How do we become lifelong learners?
Okay.
Because as AI changes the job market, we need to be ready to change with it.
So that means developing new skills. It means, maybe embracing new ways of working.
So it's not about like fearing AI, it's more about understanding it. Maybe even like embracing it in a way.
I think so, yeah. Because knowledge is power, right?
Right.
The more we understand about what AI is, what it can do, what it can't do, the better equipped we'll be to, kind of navigate all of this.
Right, right.
And I think part of that is fostering, critical thinking skills, especially for, younger generations
Yeah.
who are growing up surrounded by this.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because, think about how much information is just like at our fingertips all the time these days.
It's overwhelming.
Right. It's overwhelming. So being able to like sift through all that and figure out what's true, what's biased, what's, BS,
Right.
that's essential. Right.
It's essential. In fact, that's another thing that Hinton worries about is that AI could be used to manipulate and control people
Okay, how's
through misinformation and propaganda. Think about deep fakes.
Right.
Think about AI generating news articles that sound like they were written by,
a real person?
a real person. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's very convincing.
So it's not just about teaching kids how to like code or whatever. It's teaching them how to like
Think critically
yeah,
about the information.
like don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Right. Exactly. But that's even more important now
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
AI.
for sure.
And it's not just about, protecting ourselves, right?
Right.
It's about being like engaged citizens
Right.
who are capable of like having informed discussions
Right.
about like what role do we want AI to play in our lives?
Right.
Like this isn't something that's going to be decided like in a lab somewhere.
Right.
This is something that like, we all need to be like talking about, debating.
Right. So it's not just about like individual actions, it's about like collective ones too.
Exactly.
It's like we need
We need to be having these conversations like on a societal level.
on a bigger scale.
Hinton actually, really stresses that this is not just a problem for like, tech people to solve.
Okay.
This requires like people across, all these different disciplines. You need ethicists, you need policymakers, you need, social scientists.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
That's about the impacts.
Right. It's about what, yeah. This is starting to feel a lot bigger than just like, oh, cool, robots can write poems now.
Yeah. This is,
It's the future of humanity.
right.
That's what we're talking about here.
Wow.
And he really argues that like we need to start establishing like, ethical guidelines, regulations for
Yeah.
how AI is developed, how it's deployed. He's particularly concerned about the use of AI in these autonomous weapons systems.
Right, the robot soldiers. Yes, exactly. He's like, we need international agreements. We need treaties, similar to what we have for chemical weapons
So
to prevent like an AI arms race, basically.
So just like with nuclear weapons, it's like we need to figure out some rules before things get out of control.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Establish some norms, some safeguards before it's too late. And he also highlights that, governments have a really important role to play here
Okay.
in making sure that AI benefits, everyone,
Right.
not just a select few.
Right. It shouldn't just make the rich richer, basically.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow, this is a lot to take in.
It's a lot.
We've gone from like plumbing to politics to international treaties, like all in like 20 minutes. Yeah, it really shows you like how big this whole thing is.
It's huge.
Like AI, it's not just like a tech thing, right?
No.
It's a human thing.
It's about all of us.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's gonna like, touch everything. It's everything.
Like from our jobs to, like global politics, like we were saying.
Exactly. And he lays out some really serious challenges, but
Yeah.
but I think there is some hope in there.
Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't think that like the future is already written.
Okay, so it's not about just like trying to like stop progress.
Right.
It's about like trying to steer it
Yeah, like how do we shape it?
in a way that's actually good.
Yeah, in a way that benefits humanity.
Right.
Like his message is not anti-technology.
Wow.
It's pro-humanity.
Right. It's like we have this power.
Yeah.
But are we using it responsibly?
Are we thinking about it?
Yeah.
You know, and that's what he's urging us to do, is like think critically about, you know, what kind of future do we want?
Right.
And then like how do we actually make that happen?
And he even says like this is bigger than like one country, right?
Oh, or like one government. It's like we need like global cooperation on a scale that we've never really seen before.
Right. And that might seem like daunting. You know, like, is that even possible?
Right, especially these days.
Right, exactly. But it also just shows you like how crucial this is.
Right. This is like a big deal.
This is a big deal. Like we can't ignore it.
Yeah.
You know, this is like you said, this is about our future.
Wow. Okay, so a lot to process.
A lot to process.
I mean, this is kind of like a lot to wrap our heads around. But if we had to like distill it down, you know, for our listeners, like, what would you say is like the one key takeaway?
I think it's that, you know, the future of AI, it's not predetermined.
Okay.
Like it's being written right now.
Okay.
And we all have a role to play in that.
Okay.
Like whether you are, you know, a tech expert or just someone who's, you know, trying to like live your life.
Right.
Your choices matter. Like your actions matter. Your voice matters.
Wow. That's, I mean, that's kind of a powerful thought to end on, I think.
Yeah.
It's not about like waiting for someone else to fix this or to solve this.
Right.
It's realizing that we all like have a role to play
Exactly.
and that we can actually do something.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into AI.
Yeah, this was great.
We hope you learned something, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.